Dobry dzień from Odessa, and in today's live stream, 3 things to look out for in the Russo-Ukrainian war in the next week. First thing is Davos. Yes, World Economic Forum. Donald Trump will be going. He should meet with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky there. They will continue their negotiations in some form and discussions about, at this point, the security guarantees that the US will offer Ukraine in order to convince them to agree to some sort of deal with Russia. Not that I expect Vladimir Putin to agree to the deal anyways. My position on these negotiations that are effectively a waste of time. In any case, it is a bit ironic that the US is trying to organize these security guarantees that Donald Trump has basically been against since he became president. He's been very negative about it. When we look at what is happening between the US and its European allies in NATO, the US is effectively threatening, or at least this administration is effectively threatening its NATO members over Greenland. Donald Trump has made a big point of saying it should become part of the US, and now having refused to take the military option off the table, he has threatened tariffs against the European allies of both the US and Denmark that sent some troops to Greenland in order to, I guess, deter any US military action. I don't think that we're going to see a military venture by the US in Greenland because the Trump administration does not have the support of the US public or the US Congress, so it would be a very risky move, especially now that there have been some European soldiers sent there. The idea of NATO allies fighting each other would probably destroy the alliance, and that is not something that those who are not very hardline within the Trump administration want to see. Also, you have within the administration different opinions. I can't imagine that Marco Rubio, for example, really wants the attention taken off of Latin America by this foreign adventure in Greenland. US can achieve all its national interests and strategic aims without invading. They could just send more troops there anyways to the different bases that are in Greenland and could negotiate some minerals deals if they really want to extract something. My inkling is that since there aren't those deals in place, a bit like with the minerals deal here in Ukraine, the main reason is that it's not actually profitable to exploit a lot of these minerals at the moment. That might change in the future with global warming, but here in Ukraine as well, we had oligarchs who presumably would have strip mined everything out of the ground that was worth anything of value in the last 35 years of independence. So I'd be amazed if there are lots of easy to extract minerals in Greenland as well as in Ukraine. So that is probably the main diplomatic event we're going to see this week. Of course, keep your eye on the other major geopolitical events going on in Iran, Greenland, as I've already mentioned, maybe also Cuba. Those two latter ones are, well, Iran and Cuba are allies of Russia. So something happening that might replace the leadership in either country or even the entire regime would be another blow to Vladimir Putin and his wider axis of authoritarianism. We've seen Assad and his regime fall in Syria just over a year ago, and then the leadership of the Venezuelan government, Nicolas Maduro, was abducted by the US just over a few weeks ago and is now going to stand trial in New York. His regime will stay in place for now as long as it stays compliant with US demands, according to Donald Trump. However, it is another symbol that, or sign that, Russian influence is waning, especially with their ability to export oil, etc., because of the sanctions and the US now sanctioning, seizing different vessels that are transporting the oil that's under sanctions. So those are the first 2 things to watch out for. And the third thing is, as always, what is happening on the front lines here in Ukraine. We have seen very little progress by the Russian military in over a year. They took in 2025 0.7% of Ukraine's territory, and that seems to have slowed. We haven't seen much progress since they claimed to have taken the Pokrovsk-Minohrad agglomeration, and it doesn't seem like they actually control all of that. And bizarrely, the Russian leadership has been claiming again that they control Kupiansk, which is a city in the Kharkiv oblast, where Vladimir Putin got medals for capturing it about a month ago, and then the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky went to the outskirts of the city and actually filmed a selfie vlog demonstrating that it is under Ukrainian control for the most part. So Ukraine is continuing to clear out remaining Russian elements in the city. However, Russia seems to be rather strangely claiming to have full control when it can be disproven quite easily. It seems that either this is a strategy of theirs, just claim blindly that they control area they don't, or in fact they really believe they control it when they don't actually control it, which you can make your mind up which is more worrying from the Russian point of view on that. Wouldn't expect to see any major developments with the weather that we have in Ukraine. It is very cold, there's lots of snow, and maybe we'll see some movement, but likely to be very, very little. I think even going forward from this point, I would be surprised if we see any major Russian advancements in 2026. But things may change dramatically on the front line. It's always a bit unpredictable. So those are the three things to watch out for this week. Down below, if you are planning to come to Ukraine, I have my guide, which in addition to giving you the best logistical and safety advice for coming here to Ukraine, if you happen to be that way minded, also has my hospitality guide for here in Odessa, Kyiv, Chernovtsi, Lviv, and Uzhhorod, all my favorite cafes, restaurants, bars, and shisha lounges. Not so much clubbing one, but I'll mention them where they are applicable as well. It's down below and available for purchase. And drop your comments and questions below this live stream, and I will come back and answer them. It promises to be another interesting week in the Russo-Ukrainian war. And here in Odessa, as you can see, I have electricity since I'm filming it indoors at the moment. Isn't the same everywhere in Ukraine. Unfortunately, a lot of the electricity is out for the last week or so. However, here in Odessa, parts of the city are struggling to get electricity, but other parts, like where I am right now, are fine. And in fact, in the last month, I've had electricity about 99% of the time. So it really depends where you are in Ukraine. Drop your comments and questions down below, and see you very soon on another video. Stay safe, stay strong wherever you are, particularly if you're here in Ukraine. And Slava Ukraini. I got the Ukrainian Farmer Forces t-shirt on today as opposed to the Slava Ukraini. Do peremоги.